Good afternoon, good evening, and thank you all again for coming and hearing kind of where we are in this case. Before I go over some facts, and I'll be somewhat informal about how I present these facts to you, I'm going to do it in concert with Detective Sergeant Mooney, who was the person who worked with his team so incredibly hard over the course of the last 24 hours to develop information and use that information in support of a search warrant. I know you have a lot of questions, and I know I may not be able to answer a lot of those questions, but we're going to do our best. But I want to make one thing absolutely clear. This press conference and every press conference hereafter is about one thing and one thing only, and that is finding Hannah. Everyone within the sound of my voice has that responsibility. If you live in the city of Charlottesville, if you attend the University of Virginia, if that young lady's touched your life in any way, you have the responsibility to help us find her. Now, Hannah Graham was on this mall last Friday night into Saturday morning. She walked from one end of the mall to the other end of the mall, and she walked past people. Now we have reason to believe she was inside of a bar on this mall with an individual who lived on Hessian Hills Way, whose home we visited this morning. Now, people saw her with that individual in that restaurant. Videotape that you've already seen, that Detective Sergeant Mooney will talk about, will depict signs of that individual, we believe. And so my point is this. People saw Hannah, and people saw him, and people saw them together. And it's entirely possible, we believe, that Hannah Graham may have gotten into his vehicle, a vehicle that we seized pursuant to a search warrant, a vehicle that is characterized as a 1998 Chrysler Coupe, burnt orange in color. I believe that vehicle was parked last Friday night into Saturday morning on 4th Street.
Somewhere in that area, Chief.
Somewhere in that area. Somewhere in the area of this mall, that car was parked. Somebody got out of it and somebody got back in it. And somebody drove away. If you remember seeing that vehicle, and you remember seeing someone get back in it, and you remember seeing it drive away, we need to hear from you. Folks, we've had over 400 tips to find Hannah Graham. And it was from those, in large part, from many of those tips that got us to the point where we are now. The point that helped Detective Sergeant Mooney and a team of investigators put together some facts and circumstances in support of probable cause, sit down with the Commonwealth Attorney, present it to the magistrate, get authorization to go to take a car. And as I said to you this morning, while they were there executing that seizure for the purpose of taking that car and transporting it elsewhere to conduct a search, again, pursuant to that warrant, they established probable cause to obtain yet another warrant to enter that house. Now the question, appropriately so, has come up, well, was anyone at that house when the police arrived? Yeah. There were 3 people. Was the individual who we believe was with Hannah Graham there? Yes, he was there. Is he in custody? No, he's not in custody. Was there probable cause to arrest him? No, there was no probable cause to arrest him. Was there a legally sufficient legal basis to detain him? Not in the opinion of the ranking supervisor on the scene. Not in the opinion of our Commonwealth Attorney. Not legally sufficient reason. So that person isn't in custody. But we know who he is. Others know who he is. And while I'm not releasing his name right now, this man has not been charged with the commission of a crime. I've described his car. We know that he lived in the house that we searched this morning. We know that many of you were there. My suspicion is others know his name. And so there will come an appropriate time when I'll release that information. But right now, the message is this. Today was productive. From an investigative standpoint, it was productive. The reason it was productive is it advanced the investigation. Has it got us to the point where we need to be? No. Can bright legal minds debate that? Probably. But when we arrest the person responsible for deconstructing the lives of Mr. and Mrs. Graham and this community, it's going to be a prosecution that's going to lead to a conviction. That's our goal. Not to put together a case that's just going to result in an arrest, but to make an arrest that will lead to a conviction. We have the legal and moral obligation to do that. On behalf of Hannah, on behalf of Mr. and Mrs. Graham, on behalf of all of you. So I want to let Detective Sergeant Mooney, just for a minute, now be patient because there's a lot of things that are going to be left out, and you're going to say, but what about this and what about that we're not going to be able to tell you. But I want you to get an understanding of how did you get from yesterday to today, and what happened along the way to get you there. Now, before I ask Jim to do that, I'm going to preempt a question by providing you with this information. I'm not at liberty to disclose any items that we may have taken from that car, any items that we may have taken from that residence, for lots of reasons. But the most practical right now is those items are still being evaluated for their relevance and their evidentiary value, if any. You probably can think of the kinds of things the police department would be looking for in a case like this. And you'd probably be right. But it's too premature for me to say, here's what we got and this is what it means to us. So understand, I cannot and will not share that information with you tonight. But I do want Jim to let you have an understanding that how we got from last night or yesterday to where we are now. Jim?
Sure. I'll talk briefly about the video evidence that you're already aware of. There have been numerous sightings of Hannah on the downtown mall, as well as the video evidence. We know that she was at the intersection of Market and 4th Street, that she traveled eastbound on the downtown mall. Video evidence puts her in the 200 and 300 blocks of Main Street, the downtown mall. One of the videos, and this came from tips, eyewitnesses that saw people in addition to observations of the video. You see in front of one of the restaurants in the 300 block, you see a black male wearing all white. He has long dreadlocks, walking westbound. Within a couple seconds, you see Hannah Graham walking eastbound. You can very clearly see this black male with dreadlocks cross to the other side of the mall, and then he travels eastbound behind her. An additional video captured at a store on the mall in the 300 block shows that same black male with dreadlocks with his hands around Hannah Graham's waist. We know from witness accounts that they entered a, let me say the bar?
Tempo.
Yeah, entered the Tempo restaurant, which is just off of, on 5th Street, just off of the main part of the mall. We know that he purchased alcohol there, and we know that Hannah Graham was with him. We also know that within 15 minutes, they were gone from that bar, and that his car was seen leaving the area on video. And we have every reason to believe that Miss Graham was in that vehicle.
If you have a question that Jim can answer, he'll certainly do that at the appropriate time. I just want to add, just to kind of underscore, emphasize, highlight the reason we're saying the Tempo restaurant. Because I want people who were on the downtown mall last night or last Friday rather, at 1 o'clock in the morning, between 1 and 2, to think about the Tempo restaurant, to think about the garage, to think about 4th Street, to think about that section of the mall, and replay in their mind, did I see someone that is a black male, 32 years of age, 6'2", 270 pounds, with dreadlocks, with Hannah Graham? Did you see that? And if you did, what did you see? They weren't the only two people on the pedestrian mall last Friday night's my point. We need your help. we need people's help to find this young lady. Jim and I sat with Mr. and Mrs. Graham this afternoon about an hour and a half ago. They want their daughter back. They want to know what happened to their little girl. That's all. And that's what I want. And that's what you want. So we got to do this together. When we leave here tonight, we're going to go meet with my guess is going to be a large number of volunteers that are going to want to help. And thank God for the Virginia Department of Emergency Management. Thank God for our fire department and the Albemarle Sheriff's Department and all the people that have helped coordinate searches, because all day tomorrow they're going to be looking. And as I said last time we were together, and I'll repeat now, we need you to look too. If you live east of here, to the county line, be looking. If you live west of here to Hessian Hills, be looking. If you own a business or a residence east of here to the county line, straight on down Market Street, and you got a video camera in your house, or it's a business and you got a video camera in your business, if you haven't talked to us, please talk to us. If you live or own a business west of here to Hessian Hills, up Main Street, up Preston, up Barracks Road, clear into the county, and we haven't talked to you, please call us. We need your help.